Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We are at the capstone. This is the fifth and final episode of our series on Zero Trust. We're going to go today from theory to impact. I am joined by two very distinguished guests. Our distinguished partner, Zack Finstad. He's the VP of Cybersecurity for a company called Logically. If you haven't worked with Logically in the past, they were our Enterprise Partner of the Year. They help deploy some of the most complex systems and solutions for our customers, but they also help the SMB and mid-market. And just on the other half, the person that keeps our operations up, John Padilla, core IT for SonicWall, leads a lot of our initiatives around Zero Trust, also some AI work. You've been instrumental in helping me with some of the co-pilot activities we're going on. So Zack, why don't you give the folks a little bit of an intro and just let them know where you're coming from.
Thanks, JT. Welcome. I'm happy to be here. Love being here. Love speaking about the platforms and realistically any engagement we can do to put back out into the community what we're seeing trend-wise and realistically new technologies coming to market that we want to get into customer hands. As JT said, VP of Cybersecurity here at Logically. So I run the cybersecurity business unit. We encompass and support over 7,000 firewalls in production across the world. We don't just operate inside the United States, but we do have operators in all 50 states, and we're supporting customers in all 50 states as well as globally. Beyond that, my experiences have always been inside of IT, just coming of age, having access to technology, always having a computer at my house, that luxury. Didn't go to school for IT, but here I am today leading a team. We've got about 51 professionals on the cybersecurity side in our business. We have over 250 IT professionals in general, encompassing those cybersecurity professionals. And we are a full service MSP. We have roughly 1,500 clients, ranging the gamut, from, as JC said, from SMBs all the way up to enterprise customers. And we support some of the major platforms in the SonicWall ecosystem. As JT also said, right? Enterprise Partner of the Year. Love that award. Love getting it. 3 years running. Just waiting for my 3-peat ring that needs to come in the mail. JT, check that tracking information for me.
Your North Face hoodie. It's with your North Face hoodie.
Awesome. Great. Can't wait to wear that around. We really enjoy the CSE solution. Cloud Secure Edge is an amazing product, bringing to light and to the market, to the mass market for the most part, Zero Trust as a product, right? Zero Trust really isn't a product, it's a framework. And so we're trying to overlay on top of that the abilities and capabilities in this solution and what we can do for our customer base, as well as what we're doing internally. At Logically, we are huge about, for lack of better phrasing, eat our own dog food. We will never put something out in market that we're not testing thoroughly internally and leveraging internally as well. Cloud Secure Edge is one of those platforms. I'm actively running on it today, and it's how I connect back into our home office for infrastructure needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zack. John, why don't you give the folks just an idea of what your role is with SonicWall and kind of how you've helped foster some of these adoption for technology.
Yeah, thank you, JT. It's great to be a part of this. John Padilla, Associate VP of IT Services. So my team manages IT, corporate IT, infrastructure, and the security team infrastructure there. And we have the distinct honor of being an exemplary customer of all of our products. We use just about every product in some way, with CSE being a cornerstone of our Zero Trust initiative and a big part of our cultural change for Zero Trust. We'll talk more about that later. But we have a global network. We provide access to a lot of lab networks. We have a global workforce. So top of mind for us is application security, network access control, all of the security and logging around that using our firewalls and other technologies. So it's a very, very broad network. I like to say that we punch above our weight in terms of the size of company we have and the global network and applications that we manage.
Yeah, we have a pretty much I don't know what you probably have the numbers, I don't, but we're mostly distributed, mostly remote workforce at this point.
That's right. Yeah.
Some corporate issued, some BYOD, pretty much like the gambit of products and laptops and different connectivity devices. I know I use the mobile phone all the time, and so you all have a tough task. And I think one of the big values that our group can hear from you is just how you guys go about approaching that. So format for today, for everyone knows, is we're going to just have a really podcast style question and answer session. I've got some pre-prepared questions. I'd love for those of you that are on the call here to just load questions you might have that can help you in your evaluation of Zero Trust, or you have two incredible knowledge sources. Maybe there's a question that's adjacent that you're just curious about, right? hey, how do you handle problem X, or how do you think about problem Y? That's what this session's designed to be. I'm going to start, John, with you. Just when you started with CSE, our Zero Trust Network Access product, I think our company, we acquired Banyan Security back in the day, and they said, hey, John, tomorrow, could you get this rolled out to everybody and get us Zero Trust and all that stuff? Like, how does that process work? And, maybe just give some considerations around where you started and how the team thought about that.
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. So our journey, and we're still on this journey. It is quite a journey. It really provided us an opportunity to look very closely at how we approach segmentation. We have an existing macro segmentation infrastructure using firewalls, zones, and so on, different networks. But implementing CSE, we really took a really close look at roles. Access control for different roles, different applications, different networks. We support traditional VPN into networks for internal apps and labs, but we also support application access. So it was an opportunity for us to look at roles and come up with a topology to leverage a more micro segmentation, which is a big feature of the product. So looking at marketing roles, HR roles, finance and accounting, engineering, support, looking at everyone's requirements for access, and then reapproaching that with a Zero Trust in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things, and Zach, I'll let you talk to it, but a lot of businesses, I say post-COVID, even pre-COVID, they were just like, we just need people to be able to remotely work. Like, can you just get them onto our network, and then like they could just be like a node on the network? Like, if they could have had a long VPN, they'd have just thrown a VPN across, whatever distance it was, and VPN, Ethernet cord, and they just plugged somebody in. Like that's what a lot of organizations wanted. And so when you all are talking with maybe mid-market customers or people who don't have the sophistication that an enterprise would, how do you help consult them, and how do you help them start that conversation around Zero Trust and whatever concepts they resonate with them?
Yeah, I think John kind of outlined it pretty well there, right? Is you got to start with outlining it and defining it, right? What are these roles? What are these responsibilities? And what do they need access to, right? The Zero Trust mindset is, to trust but verify, but also ensure that you're not giving access and overprivilege to resources or people that don't need it. And realistically, you're right, JT, COVID really threw a wrench. We basically just spun up SSL VPN for anybody who needed it because we had to work from home. We had to still function, we had to still operate, and the easiest thing to do was to give remote access. I can't even quote the number of tickets that Logically had to do when we were spinning up in 2020, right, to spin up those VPN tunnels. I will tell you that, sometimes maybe we're feeling the pain today, and you see it in the news all the time, right? SSL VPN is a concern. Is one of the most threat actor activities out there right now, right? They're targeting it, they're running after it, they're breaching networks, and so solutions like CSE really are the ones that are going to be the mindset as well as the solution set to get in front of clients and also prevent these threat actors from being able to get into networks. So we always start with outlining that. First of all, we want to hear the goals, right? What are the customer goals, and let's make sure that they align. One of the things we talk about logically, holistically, is that we're the experts. So we're the ones driving the bus, but we still need to have the input from the passengers and the navigators on the bus with us, right? And so we want to take that mindset, make sure that the customer understands exactly where we're coming from and why we're going to recommend X, right, when they're talking about Y. And so we really just want to outline what that looks like, what are the goals, what are the objectives, and how can the solution sets like CSE come into play and help them get to those goals.
Awesome. Thank you. So John, when you're on the practitioner side, you get the business makes these decisions, makes whatever decision it might be. But in this scenario, it's like, hey, we want to implement Zero Trust, right? It has compliance ramifications. It has just security posture ramifications. Maybe the owning governing body of the organization or the auditor said we have to do this to make insurance requirements, right? There's all these things that mandate it. But when you're talking and you're having this information fed to you, how do you help communicate back to the organization timeframes and objectives? What's maybe you can help us through some of that stuff, because I'm sure it's like we want everything, and you're like, well, we can deliver something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we look at different roles, and there are some roles in the organization that are easier than others in terms of access requirements. There are some roles that are mostly, say, SaaS access requirement versus the traditional network VPN. So those are naturally easier places to start for us and build timelines around that, whether maybe it's HR or we look at marketing or in our case, sales, less dependency on on-prem versus other roles. So those make it a little bit easier to come up with timelines, say versus engineering. Engineering in our organization has a lot of complicated access requirements. They're heavy users of VPN for lab access, and they have a variety of on-prem and cloud-based applications. So that one's easier to kind of put lower on the list of a little longer-term access, say, versus a role that has, say, less VPN access, a little more SaaS application. Maybe they're not working. Their day-to-day might be accessing 2 or 3 applications versus 7 or a dozen for, say, somebody in engineering. So easier to build those roles and to come up with timelines.
It's easier to brush off the sales team. We know how it is. So I mean, I kind of set you up for that question because I think it's an important one. That what was like, Zach, you talked about having these tickets where people are like, I need access, I need connectivity. And then once it's set up, like people, the biggest resistance I see on the sales and the sales engineering side for this product is people are used to doing something a certain way. And the thought of changing from that is risky, but also it's like, I don't want to do something different. But, John and Zach, you guys both mentioned there's this journey that needs to happen. You can't just say, I'm never going to change, because the security platform is changing, right? There's needs that are shifting. So how, Zach, are you helping coach customers that, this isn't a stagnant solution anymore? What used to be just something you plugged in and mostly left alone needs to now be more of a consulting engagement and something that evolves continuously as your business goes.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we're leveraging is compliances, right? So there's level sets of compliance needs that clients may have. They might have auditing bodies that require them to do assessments and adjust security posture from time to time, right? Logic is a SOC 2 compliant organization. The cybersecurity business unit is a PCI level 1 service provider. So we do this every year actively in our audit right now. And so we go through the motions of making sure clients have that understanding that there has to be a crawl, walk, run associated to it. And as humans, right, we're resistant to change, but we know that it's inevitable. And realistically, we need to make sure the clients have an understanding that we're doing this in their best interest, right? We are doing this because threat actor activity is getting better, faster, stronger, right? It's businesses for them. It's a money-making opportunity for them. It's no different than the world that we operate in. It's a business. It's a livelihood, right? And so we walk the clients through that crawl, walk, run phase associated to how we're going to implement this type of technology, and realistically how we're not only going to do that at a cadence in the initial, but also a reinvigoration of that from time to time. Let's come back around and reinvigorate and review your security posture to make sure it's up to the snuff of today's standards, because something that was okay 5 years ago during COVID is not okay today, right? I talk with plenty of people who didn't realize that Logically existed for 25 years. But that's because 25 years ago, people weren't deploying firewalls every day, right? You were leveraging your dial-up speed that you had. Maybe you had DSL if you were advanced business 25 years ago, maybe slowly getting into coax. But you were relying on your ISP to provide the security. And what we know today is that's not the case, right? You need to take security in mind at your organization and also leverage your knowledge, your partner's knowledge, your vendor's knowledge to make sure you're testing their security posture, because you cannot just rely on everybody else to do it for you. That's not how this world works anymore. And we just need to make sure we're bringing that forward. So review, evaluate, and constantly do it over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so critical. That's why SonicWall has built out this network of partners, and we're so grateful for partners like you all, because so many customers just want the check the box. I just want the magic thing that fixes all my problems. It's like, yeah, we all do, right? But reality is it's a process, and it's a service, and it's a expertise. In the same way that, like, I don't know, your taxes are done, or the plumbing is done. Like, if everything worked all the time, then there wouldn't be a need for it. But with the reality of the world, that stuff's constantly changing and evolving, and new ways to solve the problems come up, and also new risks present themselves. So, John, just shifting back to a little bit of the practitioner side of the house, maybe you can just talk to us about something that came up that was maybe unexpected, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or kind of I don't know, but maybe during the process you got started, you built out these roles, you started rolling out, and you went, "Ooh, this would have been helpful to know in the front, or we should have maybe prepared for this, or an unexpected outcome." Could you help us maybe there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think top of mind is the device security posture. So the CSC client has a trust score. So we developed as part of the approach of looking at roles and access requirements, looked at also device and endpoint security, and looked at all the capability we have with CSC to monitor and evaluate that security posture. And I think a couple of things that we it didn't expect or really caused us to think more about how to maybe improve the device security, right? Encryption enabled. We use an MDM, having the device in MDM. And then BYOD, we're still figuring out. It's a journey. We don't have everything figured out yet with BYOD. We still have to figure some things out there. I think, our experience initially was to really look at device security and what are the parameters we should be enforcing on the user community, and some things that we didn't expect to see. We didn't have very good consistency across platform between, say, Mac and Windows. And so we're able to really close the gap on those two, again, leveraging the trust score and the ability for CSC to monitor the device security posture.
Great. I mean, I really appreciate that feedback, because I think, we get so caught up, especially on the sales, pre-sales side. We're talking about all the cool belts and whistles of the product. But in reality, just some of that stuff where it's like, you think that it's this way, or your assumption is everything's standardized. And then you go, "Ooh, actually, there's this group of people that we didn't even know about." And it doesn't have to be that it's this malicious or problematic area, but there's just maybe processes that are put out. One thing I heard from one of our clients was when they turned on the internet threat protection policies, they have their acceptable use and they expect all their employees to follow the acceptable use. By a show of hands, who violated the acceptable use on their product? Almost all of their employees, right? And so that their point was like, ooh, like, one, we probably didn't communicate the acceptable use well, but two, let's help the users not make these mistakes. Let's help them be aware that we have the controls in place and give the user some backstop. I know you said we have an MDM that helps roll out that agents. Obviously, we have several endpoints out there, so that helps. Zach, when you all look at rolling out client software, it doesn't just have to be CSE, but it could be other client software. What's the deployment method? And if you talk specific to CSE, that'd be helpful. But Andrew had a question just around, he uses Intune. Would this be a way we would deploy it, or what's your thoughts about rolling out mass software?
Yeah, I think, we obviously have the privilege of being a full service MSSP, right? So we have our RMM tools, right? Our remote monitor and maintenance agents that are out there. And so we have the ability to push that out, right? But we work heavily with clients that we don't have those managed services out, right? We might just be working on their firewalls. We're controlling their security aspects and solutions, but we just don't have an endpoint agent out on every device. So yeah, we would partner with the customer, talk through what the mechanisms would be that they have internally, whether that's something like Intune or an MDM solution, something that can do a mass deployment. Maybe it's an opportunity that we could help and leverage for a little bit of time to roll out Kaseya, which is our RMM, and then go ahead and push the platform like CSE out to those endpoints, right? It really just kind of comes down to what's in their ecosystem. We got plenty of customers who also have their own RMM tools, right? One of my friends and colleagues is our customer, and I keep telling him I got to sell him his RMM, but he's got it himself, right? He's not going to move over to ours. He's already paying for it. Maybe he's on the call today and he knows who I'm talking about, and we'll see if we can get him over to it at some point. But realistically, realistically, it's leveraging what the client has, and if they don't have something, it's working with them to outline the availability of tool sets that are there, right? Whether that's something like a group policy, an RMM tool, Intune, MDM, right? Some level set of a platform that is there. Internally, we have some really nice tools that we leverage for our use case that we also push out to customers. We have a platform called Auto Elevate, which replaces the Labs platform from Microsoft, which allows technicians to increase their permissions temporarily on a device, their workstations at their home, to go ahead and deploy a solution. So when we mass rolled out CSE to our cyber team, it was basically, here's the installer, leverage Auto Elevate, get it installed, and then the policy will come down once you log into the platform, which is really nice, right? Super seamless. Took me about 2 minutes to set up CSE on my side as an end user, right? I'm not the one turning the knobs anymore. I get to turn the people that turn the knobs. And so there's an opportunity there.
Awesome. Yeah, the second part to your question, Andrew, just around does it then pull the policy? Yes. So CSE is configured in a cloud control center. You set up your policies, you attach your roles and your identities in the cloud, and then the individual agents or apps go out to the endpoints. And so we talked about a couple different ways that can be rolled out. When they get out there, they get linked to your tenant through an invite code, and that code allows the people to pull the policies that you've provisioned. So as an administrator, you're just a single console, an admin login type experience. The individual clients can be dispersed. So multiple ways to get the agent out there, and then they'll pull their policy. Thanks for the question in the chat. So maybe slightly shifting gears, maybe we can talk about some future-looking stuff. There's all this talk and buzz around AI. There's all these talk and buzz around people being more flexible, more remote work, third-party contractors. John, maybe there's something cool out there that you're like, hey, I'm really excited about doing X, Y, and Z. I'm putting you a little bit on the spot because we didn't prep for that question, but maybe there's something that's cool out there that you're like, hey, we're excited about feature X, or we're excited about rolling out this portion of the product, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, I think certainly AI. I think a lot of organizations are dealing with the same thing these days, with really rapid evolution, adoption of AI, generative AI over the last, say, 12 to 24 months. And so we're looking, really for us, it's AI security, try to stay on the cutting edge for DLP as well. Some examples, we don't want somebody copying and pasting code to a site that's not sanctioned. So those are things that we're looking at CSE to help with, and that's some app control. Again, device security posture, other tools that we have in place to help monitor device, beyond just Intune MDM, but also Defender. There's a lot of capability we have with third-party apps to help lock down devices. And CSE, again, with Trust Score, our ability to manage access control into applications, also device visibility and logging. So we attach a lot of logs from our CSE tenant into our SIEM tool. So those are all just areas of visibility we have, or we can have, or will have, that we didn't have before, to help us really manage AI security, which it's emerging. So there's still a lot of unknown, but knowing that we have the tools in place to help us control access, or again implement DLP, that gives us at least some comfort. Like, okay, this is what we have in the toolbox. Let's make sure we identify the problem and come up with a solution with what we have.
That's great. Thank you for that. And then, Zack, I'll take the same kind of question. What are you excited about, or what services do you think you can bring to customers, or can customers take advantage of that maybe they haven't yet, but it's in that wheelhouse?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, what I'm excited about is that we're going to get rid of some aging technology that's been around for a while and is being abused, right? Like we got to get it out the door, right? Other vendors have taken a stance that they're removing SSL VPN, and it's coming, right? It's going to be out there at some point. And these solutions like Cloud Secure Edge are going to be the forefront. This is going to be the platform that clients need to be on in order if they want that level set of remote access. So I'm really excited about that, right? Removing those threat vectors to a certain extent, right? It's a business, so we'll have to be in front of it and continue to evolve and change and ensure that we're protecting these platforms as well, right? Because the cloud technologies also need to be protected, just like our internal resources. So I'm excited for that. Super enthused by what I'm seeing. Super enthused by the adoption of these platforms. Specifically Cloud Secure Edge. We've seen a lot of customers move over to it. We've got a lot of conversations ongoing. I think I've got 5 proof of concepts in flight right now for customers, which is great. And starting to see that move. And then I think it's just the adoption of overall stance of policies, right? John talked a lot about that, right? We're defining this. We talk about people, process, technologies. The technology is CSE. The process needs to be there in order to guide the people to leverage the technology. And so having businesses understand that everything really defaults back to their policies. No different than HR policies, right? Acceptable use that maybe HR publishes or your IT organization publishes, but you gotta sign on the dotted line to say you're going to accept it, right? And go through the training associated to make sure you have an understanding of why this is the case. And then realistically, when you're starting to do the evaluation, like John talked about, you get to see the holes that might have been there. right? The overprivileged accounts, or people have access to things that they shouldn't, right? Me as the VP, I should have access to pretty much everything that I need to do my daily operations, but do I really need to access a client firewall? Well, in a pinch, maybe on a Saturday at 2 a.m. when someone calls my phone, yeah, I want to log in and see what's going on. But every day I don't need that. So it could be a limited access that is something I spin up on the back end for me to get access in a temporary need, right? So you talk about how you can leverage that, how you can create that knowledge internally, document it accordingly, and then realistically, you're going to be in a much better place if and when anything negative happens, right? If you have everything defined, you are going to be in such a better position if for whatever reason boom happens, right? We talk left and right of boom, and right being after an event, after a security incident. And so we want to make sure that customers have that knowledge that having those documented processes and policies will help in those scenarios, right? And so I hate to say it, but that's the negative, right? It's not if, but when. And so we want to make sure that we're ready for it. And we can try to protect against it as much as possible, right? They can have access maybe to a server that has nothing on it, but don't give them access to the financial server, stuff like that.
Spot on. So for those of you that are watching from home, watching from your office, watching from the road, feel free to load up questions if you have them. This is an opportunity to do so. From here on out, it's going to be free form. And so, one thing I heard while you were talking through that piece, but I remembered Kristen from Cysurance, a partner of SonicWall, providing cyber insurance. She mentioned that, when you look at a home and you're trying to reduce risk around a fire, there is never going to be a situation where there are 0 house fires. And so I think they have the same perspective when it comes to cyber incidents, which is there's never going to be 0 cyber incidents. But this concept of zero trust and this concept of this modernization of the processes is, when those things happen, let's make it a small fire. Let's let the kitchen get burned, but don't burn the whole house down. And right now we see a lot of customers with these older solutions in place where it's like these small problems cause massive impacts. In some cases, business-ending impact to organizations, especially SMB. I mean, that's the part that I say motivates me for work, but also makes me hurt, is like my family, the livelihood that my parents raised me under, my brother under, is a small business. And like my dad ran a construction company. He doesn't know squat about the internet. The reason I'm in IT at all is because he was like, here's this box and like I got an MSN email, like figure it out, right? And that's the people that are moving the country forward in many cases, and they provide livelihoods. Those go away now. With cyber attacks, I heard about like a tennis shop in northern US. They lost like $50,000. It's like, I don't know how much a tennis shop makes in revenue a year, but $50,000 is probably a substantial portion of their revenue over something that, I'm not gonna say CSE could have fixed that exact problem, but like it's just the risk that they are under with those attacks. And it makes me upset. I get mad at the cyber attackers, but I also think that like businesses have a responsibility to do a little bit of education. So maybe we'll just get philosophical while people queue in questions. John, if you had an opportunity to just talk to 600 people who are touching IT across the world, what would you want to say to them?
Well, I think an important concept you mentioned, which is blast radius, right? And reducing the blast radius, keeping that as small as possible. There is that. It's not a matter of if, it's when something happens. A lot of the vector these days is through phishing. AI is getting more sophisticated with phishing. There's been some recent large companies who have fallen victim to that, like voice AI or video AI. That blast radius and keeping that, micro-segmentation, again, device security. So if somebody does click on something, it's limited to just the device. You're not compromising a SaaS application or a network access point. Having continuously monitored device posture eliminates that, or keeps that blast radius very tight, right? Eliminates the VPN, eliminates any access to SaaS applications, protects your data. And maybe the device at that point is compromised and it's just local. We're able to deal with that. We're able to replace the device or take other action, but we don't have the rest of the network compromised. It's not a flat network. It's segmented. We don't have SaaS applications like Salesforce or other applications compromised because that connectivity is removed. So I think that's an important point you made, and I think that's an easy one to evangelize to a large group of people, and that's keeping that blast radius very small.
Shrink that surface area,
right?
Know? Like my waistline. I told Zack before the call, I've been trying to lose a little bit of weight. So.
I'm still working on it too.
And then there's
Especially with the holidays coming up, right? We gotta prep for that.
Football season starting. How many chicken wings can I eat tonight?
Exactly.
So Zack, same thing. You got 700 captive audience, 700 folks that are listening about trying to learn about zero trust and just get a little bit better. What message would you want them to hear?
I think first and foremost, it's no longer an IT issue, right? And cybersecurity is a subset of IT in the grand scheme, but it's not an IT issue anymore, right? This is a business issue. And so you really need to get stakeholders involved, department heads involved, your C-suite involved, to make sure that they understand the importance and the need for technologies like Cloud Secure Edge and how that's going to take them into the next extent, right? And its next stint of technology and the cybersecurity landscape. And then a layered approach, right? I talk about the security onion all the time, right? Layered approach of solution sets that you can have out there to customers, right? And the overlapping ability for those solution sets. And so that's where those security postures come into play. If you don't have, an EDR client or some sort of protection on the endpoint, the device is outdated for Windows patching for 3 months. No, you're not getting access to my network, right? You're going to have to sit there through 6 hours of Windows updates before you can get access. Sorry, that's just the nature of the beast. But realistically, it's no different than, physical security in that realm, right? You wouldn't let someone just walk into your house without identifying themselves. Why would you let them walk through your virtual door to your office without identifying themselves? And so, I can make that analogy all the time, right? I've got doors locks. I've got a security system in my house. I've got cameras. I've got a dog who barks pretty heavily. He'll pick up a toy the moment you walk in the door and give it to you. But, the bark is there enough to maybe scare somebody away. And so we talk through that with clients, right? What are they leveraging for those aspects? What are you using for EDR, MDR, XDR? Those are a lot of acronyms, right? Your endpoint protection, your endpoint detect and respond. That's your new version of antivirus. Your managed detect and respond. That's a team like Logically managing it and monitoring it for you. Partnering with an organization like Logically or SonicWall to do that. And then extended detect and respond. That's a SIM platform, right? Where you maybe have a SOC team that's monitoring 24/7 to see what's going on. Both things SonicWall and Logically do really, really well and have that ability. So I would tell you to continue to talk about it. If you're a security practitioner or an IT practitioner in your organization, scream from the mountaintops. Talk about this with everybody you can who will listen, that this is something that you need to start looking at and leveraging internally. And then if you have clients that are remoting into your ecosystems, this could be something that you give to them, right? We work with a lot of customers who leverage VPN technologies for their own vendors and partners. And we have to have a level set of security in place. Gone are the days that, you just log in with your credentials and then you have access, right? No, there needs to be multi-factor authentication. There needs to be a posture check. There needs to be a lockdown to trusted sources. We need to make sure security is in the mindset of everybody when they're giving access or developing policies. You got to think about it through a cybersecurity lens.
I love that. I always like hairpinning that comment with one extra thing, which is I see a lot of IT folks that are just like 1 or 2 person operations, and they think that everyone else is doing it alone. And that's not the case. So SonicWall doesn't do that alone. Logically doesn't do that alone. It's an ecosystem of security where it takes multiple layers of expertise in different portions of the business to have successful outcomes. I've seen a lot of leadership. If there's anything you could segment from this and send it to your C-suite leadership owner, it's like there are lots of businesses that think 1 IT person or 2 IT people can fix all the problems. And I've never met one person that knows everything about how to secure an organization. It's not physically possible from a time perspective. And so I encourage everyone, if you haven't talked to someone like Logically, a managed service provider who can help you scale and help you address these changes, that this is your opportunity to do so. We did have a couple questions come in. First one, I think that probably Zack, this is maybe more in your wheelhouse, deployment options for CSE. Do I have to have a SonicWall firewall? I know you support lots of vendors, not just SonicWall from the firewall perspective. So do they have to have that? How do they deploy the agents or the connectors or whatever.
No, it's one of the reasons why I love the platform, that it's agnostic, right? Like you don't have to have a SonicWall firewall to have CSE, and in fact, sometimes it works better, right? We found a lot of success in the Linux gateway connector for the platform, and you can leverage the connector that sits on the newer generation SonicWall firewalls, but maybe you don't have that at one of the office locations that you're trying to protect, or you're just trying to protect SaaS applications, right, and cloud-based applications, right, and do the internet access filtering. So you don't necessarily need a SonicWall firewall. And in fact, that is the technology that we want to bring to the market. It's one of the reasons why Logically is so keen on Cloud Secure Edge, is because we can sell it back into customers who haven't adopted SonicWall yet. Maybe you're still using a Meraki out there. Well, that's not a firewall. That's a router. I'll say it 17 times. Hopefully there's no Meraki fanboys who are going to blow me up in chat here. But this is an opportunity where you could leverage a platform technology like Cloud Secure Edge, protecting your environment, and you don't have that hard hardware requirement, and then there's no cost for spinning up that Linux application connector. But you know, obviously you have to run it somewhere, so there's that cost, but there's not an additional licensing fee or anything from SonicWall, which is great.
Thanks, that was great. This is maybe a little bit on the more SMB side, but John, you might be able to answer it. It's just like, you know, person's like, hey, I got on-prem Active Directory, and they thought that they had to use cloud identities in the past. I think we're like mostly an Azure shop or Office 365 ecosystem, but if someone's got like that on-prem directory, I know from a product roadmap we rolled out the support of that.
Right.
How should people think about having cloud identities? There's more to that than just the platform.
Yeah, well, it's a journey we took some time ago. In our case, being mostly a Microsoft shop, even prior to Office 365, Microsoft made it very easy to extend AD into Azure AD. Now they will upsell you on additional security features, but just to get that additional cloud footprint, that was a relatively easy journey for us to take. Not everybody may be able to take that. I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but that was our experience, as we had extended into the cloud pretty easily based on Microsoft's ability to do so. And we're able to leverage those cloud identities really since then, this several years ago.
Awesome, thank you. Let's see, I'm going to pop the screen share back up and just do some housekeeping on the round. If you have additional questions, this is like speak now, forever hold your peace thing, because we'll wrap this up relatively quickly. But one thing I like to champion our product as a call to action. If you got to the end of this and you said, you know what, I'm going to finally get motivated. I've been putting this off for a while. Or maybe you got the notification from us that the SMA 410, SMA 210 are going to reach a end of support, end of life date on October 31st of this year. And you're like, what do I do? And I need help. Option one, if you have no idea where to go, Logically is our partner. You should talk with them. They're incredible. They can help you. Option two, you could reach out through this message chain and get connected with your SonicWall rep, and the SonicWall rep can help you navigate where to go. Option three is you could start a free trial. You don't have to talk to anybody. Go into mysonicwall.com, go into the free trial section. You could start evaluating the CSE product. So you could spin it up. If you feel comfortable doing the technical deployment, you could start to evaluate, how does this product work? How would I deploy it in my environment? That's 30 days. There's no pressure. We won't spam you. We'll just activate the trial and try it out. So we try to make that as easy as possible for you to onboard. We did get mentioned in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SASE products. They highlighted a couple of things: cost efficiency, right? Easy to onboard, and then MSP-centric features. If you meet those requirements, you think this is a product worth evaluating, I'd encourage you to take that next step today. But build this out. I did have the ZTNA checklist. I've shared this every time. It's super simplified, but the reality is you might just need a place to start, right? Maybe you're not even to the point where you want to test it. I don't even know if ZTNA makes sense for my business. Screenshot this, load it up, go to your business operations, talk to your owner or your business partners or whoever, and say, look, what do we do in these scenarios? If you respond yes to 3 or 4 of them, you probably need to start evaluating ZTNA, right? Then finally, both emotionally, physically, and personally, I take the ratings that are attached to this call very seriously. It affects the exact amount of money that goes in my bank account at the end of the month. Not really, but I like to say that. But if you found value in this content, if it was helpful for you and you'd like to see more, please rate it high. Please provide us comments and commentary on how we can improve the sessions moving forward. Reminder, This is SonicWall. This is episode 5. This is the end of the series. Please go back and watch the other ones if you're not. Zach, I'll give you the mic. Anything you'd like to share with the audience before you bounce?
I think we've said a lot, right? I don't need to keep harping on it. I would just, as JC said, right, urging everybody to have these conversations internally, bring them up, right, talk through the motions, run through that checklist, and then start to look at it. I will echo JT's statements about how quickly and easy this platform can be spun up, and the documentation is great. So there's a really an easy ability for someone to go in, light up a free trial, and then run through the motions on it. I would urge everybody to kind of look at that, do that. And then, as JC said, if you're uncomfortable, have questions, reach out to SonicWall, reach out to a partner, hit me up, find me on LinkedIn. Happy to have any conversation with any customer or prospect, or really just anybody out there. I am big on community awareness and involvement. While this is a business operations for me, right? Again, JT's comment, right? Like it does affect my salary, my paybook, what comes to my check every month, but I just want to make sure we're better in the community, right? Like I don't like to see what's happening in the threat actor community, and I want to make sure we're staying in front of it as much as possible. So even if you're not a customer of Logically, or you're not a partner with myself, or even with SonicWall, you just kind of stumbled across this, I would urge everybody to kind of reach out and start to have those conversations, and then talk to your peers. What are they leveraging? What are they doing? This is, newer to market, and people need to start to think about how this could change their landscape and their involvement in IT.
Thanks, Zach. John, any parting?
Just to add really quick to that, and like your slide showed, you're not alone. We're all dealing with the same thing. We're all dealing with the same emerging threats and the threat actors. The answers are all out there. The help is out there. No need to reinvent the wheel.
I love that. Yeah. Well, with that, we'll let everyone part. I appreciate your time. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, JT. Thanks, John.